Hey there, Warriors. Welcome back. This is part 3 to our DEI. Uh, Brother Waldo, in part 2, we kind of got into the mechanics of what was going on
Right.
during the assassination attempt. And we left off with where are we at now if we're just hiring people because they fill a quota instead of hiring, X, Y, or Z. That's where we left off. So
Right.
now that we're here on part 3.
So I'd like to start by answering your question. Where are we? The problem is filling the quota is not filling the qualifications for the job. And I've been wanting to use this four-letter word ever since I started doing this. I'm going to use it now.
A 4-letter word, what?
Risk.
Oh,
R-I-S-K. Willingness to take a risk. Okay? And I don't mean to sound like a misogynist, but there's a reason why the military is 80% are male. Most of your police force, fire department, your emergency responders, and Secret Service, because they're usually willing to raise their hand to say, I'm willing to take the risk. I'm willing to jump in front of the president to catch a bullet. I'm not saying women aren't because my ex-wife is a cop. She's an amazing cop. She rose her hand and says, I'm willing to take the risk to do what it does to do the job. And she does it great. I got both my kids, both of them have enlisted into the military. Both are badasses, both are willing to do the job. I'm very proud of them. But they're the exception. They're not the rule.
Right.
And so how do I sound to you when I say the rule is in these emergency response situations or protecting our president, it needs to be the one who's willing to accept the risk, regardless of gender or race. Am I wrong to say DEI should not play a part in that?
Were you wrong back in the 80s if you were to say that, equal opportunity wasn't really working out? I mean, there's probably a buzzword in the early 2000s that was going on, but I don't remember that time of my life. I slept last night.
I can't think of it now. Affirmative action.
Affirmative action.
Yeah, I can't remember when that.
But there's always been this idea that we need to diversify our people in all jobs. Okay, right. I am all for diversity. I love it. Being in the military, there's not, like you said, there's not a lot of women. But the women who do, they do raise their hand. All of us raise our hand, say, I will protect this country and the rest of it. We all raise our hand. Now, that's just for kind of lore. There's something special, more special, about those who say, I want to take a bullet. Because as we said in part 2, that I said it. I said that women may not want to take that bullet. But
or maybe they can, they just physically can't.
And I hope that's the way it came off in part 2, but if it didn't, this is where we're at now in part 3. There needs to be an across the board standard. And I really feel deeply that it doesn't matter to me, man or woman, if I'm going down on a bomb suit. You're my P2. You're my guy who's backing me up. You're my guy who's gonna save my ass if I fuck up. So I something goes wrong and I go down and I can't get back. I expect you to come get me. That's part of our training. Now, yes, you can pull a huge guy like me. Other people can't.
Right.
And that's regardless of sex and gender.
Right.
If you are a small individual, you can't do a lot of things. Like, you have to be yay high to ride on a ride. It's not.
It's still for a reason.
It's not about the old tropes of, it's racist or body shaming or it's sexist. It's just across the board, and there are more men who do raise their hand and say, I'll take a bullet. People can say that women are probably smarter than men, not wanting to go put themselves out, but hey, I'm a weirdo and I did it too, so I'm not saying nothing.
There are jobs out there where women are definitely more qualified. I would say things
Sure.
like teachers, probably medical field, a lot of things where because they're smarter, they're better at. You use the term across the board, but I'm separating business from emergency response. Across the board, emergency response wise, you need to be able to do these things regardless of your age, your gender,
Right.
your race. I need you to do these things.
Okay.
And if the only people that can do these things are mostly male, then that's just the way it has to be. The problem is, in part one, if you remember, I talked about DEI. It was sold to the community that if you diversify, period, it'll increase your earnings by 35%. They found out, number one, that was a big lie. That's why I named all the companies in part one that don't do it anymore. But for some reason, you had a leader of the Secret Service and other leaders of emergency response. Hey, that's a good idea. We should, set a quota too. The problem is you're not raising a profit in emergency response.
Not at all.
If anything, you're making your ability to respond to emergencies and do a job less effective. How do we know? We almost had a assassination attempt on our former president.
And regardless of who you are, where you sit, we can't be shooting political rivals, throwing them in jail for asinine reasons. We need to have some sort of structure. That's what makes this country go.
We need people who can do the job. Period. Okay, there are fields out there that probably should be dominated by women because, like you said, they are smarter. I have no problem with that.
Sure.
I think that's the way. If that's the best way to go, that's like teachers, for example. I think they have more patience with kids, so they could be great teachers.
Exactly.
But there are jobs, and I have a problem if 80% of our teachers are women. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. I'm not going to say, no, DEI, you need to hire men just to fill a quota, even though they may not be good enough to do the job.
Maybe they're not even raising their hand to become a teacher.
Exactly. Or maybe, hey, I need a job. I want to be a teacher. Well, we need to fill, we need a quota here for men to be teachers, so you're hired. We don't care if you're qualified or not. That seems to be the case with emergency response, and I keep saying it, military, Secret Service, local police, fire department, anything that's an emergency responder. Medical field's a different story. I think women are great in the medical field. They're probably even better. Like I said, their patience, their ability to work under pressure. You want them in that situation. And I want them. If I'm in an ambulance and I see a woman working on me, I feel safe. I feel comfortable. She's going to do a job. But if I'm out there and I'm walking down in an IED and the person back, I'm sorry?
As we do in the EOD field.
And the person back there, I know she can't, if I get into a bad situation, she can't pull me out. I don't feel safe. I shouldn't have to be put in that position because somebody's trying to fill a quota.
Right. And and here's the kind of catch-22 we have in, at the very least, our own career field. It's in the high 90s in percentage-wise of white males. That's hey, look at you and me. Who are we?
Right.
For whatever reason that is, and I'm quite positive the military knows, there has never struck me as a time, at least going through school, there was never a time where they were saying, oh, hey, we need 5 more women to step in and do this. We need 4 more of you, 12-year-old looking dudes that are 5'2" and don't have any muscle mass. I mean, that's the thing. If there is a standard that of people have to be able to do, ruck 500 miles, or you have to have the ability to pull somebody, 200 feet away from whatever, we can have that. But there's also other limiting factors. When I was small, I couldn't do everything that I can do now. I can just break a door just by going into it too fast. I mean, that's unfortunately big guy problems. But I have to learn to do things better.
But big guy problems is not a problem when it's necessary. It has someone like you in certain areas.
Well, yeah.
I might need you to break down a damn door because of whatever. There's a hostage situation. I could name all kinds of reasons why we need a big guy like you. But there should not be some kind of quote that says, well, we need you. We don't have enough women to do your job, so we're going to hire them regardless if they can actually do it or not.
Because that feels scary. That feels like they're not hiring for the job.
Right.
And that's what I keep hearing is we're just hiring you for the job. We're not hiring you for any other thing. Like the meritocracy goes out the fucking window and we're just supposed to be cool with it.
Right.
And again, I'm getting tilted right now talking about it. And I shouldn't, but my Wookieess is coming out.
That's why you're the Wookiee.
Let's
hear it.
People need to know. I can't imagine even the feeling if you had gone down on something on a device, and something wrong would happen, and I wasn't able to pull you out of it, or our third teammate wasn't able to pull you out of it. Now let's put it on the flip side. A very small individual is the team chief, and I'm the second guy, and I gotta go pull them out. Yeah, that's cool, because I can pull out there. But you don't automatically make team leaders out of those small people just because that is their role, because they can't fit another role. I mean, I tried to get that across with the standard, and I'm probably just overdoing myself again.
No, I think you're spot on. You're saying across the board standards. Standards. They're there for a reason. And luckily for us, there have been some bad exceptions. For the most part, the career field me and you were in, you couldn't become a team chief until the team leader could do everything, to include pull you. If those pull you out of a bad situation. If they couldn't do it most of the time, they weren't upgraded. There were some exceptions where it shouldn't have been done. We know that.
Sure.
Some people slip through the cracks. And I'm not using gender here. I know men who could not do the job that somehow slipped through the cracks, became team leaders, and could not have done everything that you just described. That's why the standards exist. But you can't have a quota saying we need to hire this many people just because I just want this many people. It does not matter if they can do the job or not. If it's true in business where diversification increases profits, then do it. It's only common sense to do it. But that can't go over to the emergency response. Or jobs like the Secret Service where your job is to protect a president. And
because
I don't know, did we see what happens when DEI causes a weakness in the Secret Service when they're on the assassination attempt on Trump?
Are we playing both sides? Are we saying because this particular Secret Service lady, she did raise her hand. She said, I want to take a bullet.
Great.
She didn't want to take a bullet for the president. She knew that was part of it. But you get my meaning. She raised her hand and said, I want to do this job. I want to serve my country by protecting the president.
Great. There's things she can do. Okay? But there are certain qualifications you need to be able to be the one when an emergency situation happens and you are responsible for pulling the president out and getting him in a bulletproof vehicle. What's the standards for that? It's common sense, right? We shouldn't be saying, well, sorry, President Trump, I don't know how heavy he is, but it looks like a pretty big dude.
Well, we do have a lot of
DEI DEI says this is your new protectee now. Or this is your new protector, I should say.
And then how, being from the president's point of view, like, this girl is supposed to take a bullet for me? Maybe for my lower half,
Right.
I'm sure he's much more professional than I am. I don't understand the the hiring just to hire. Again, I'm all for diversity. Unfortunately, certain jobs
Right. And that's exactly what
require.
I'm getting at. Yeah.
I mean, is the average height for a male is what 5'10", 5'11", something around there, within an inch or two of that. Whereas the average for a female is low 5 foot. So there's a good
Right.
7 inches on
Sure.
average between
Exactly.
us.
I have heard that the immediate people that are supposed to be there to protect the president used to be able, depending on who the president is, height and weight, they had to meet those standards.
Yeah,
It takes more than raising your hand saying, I'm willing to take a bullet. Okay, can you also actually do it? Are you tall enough? Can you guard, protect the president or whoever the protectee is from the shooter? Can you do that? Just raising your, there's got to be two things. It's got to be a volunteer, then you got to be able to do it to meet the standards. You can't just say, well, she raised her hand, you're hired. Okay, hopefully, they're not aiming above his midsection because that's all she's going to protect. Everything that from there below.
yeah. If you're gonna be a meat shield, you got to shield some meat.
Right.
And if you don't have those, and this is so hyper focused, we're using general terms on this very focused instance,
Right.
but it does ask some of the questions that the efficacy of the DEI itself. I mean, and we're saying, hey, DEI is awesome over here, but it just doesn't work over here.
Right.
So it just
I think that what we're saying
ah,
is DEI diversification is important. I think it makes businesses better. You can't incorporate it where it's not applicable, where it's not appropriate.
sure.
I'm sorry. Emergency response in all those areas where you're not trying to make a profit, you're trying to protect somebody, you're trying to save someone's life. You have to be able to do it. You have to be a volunteer to take the risk, and you have to actually be physically able to take the risk. Those two are must. If you can do it, then you should be able to be the one doing the job, not because, well, you're diversity hired. And I know how derogatory that sounds, but
Why we're debunking, in effect, the whole. But again, this is hyper focused on what we're doing. But on certain jobs, we have to debunk the thought that DEI can apply it here because there has to be a standard, and if that standard is you're not tall enough to be on this ride, how many times do kids complain when they go to theme parks and they're not big enough to ride a ride? They go crazy, don't they?
yeah, but they're kids. You tell them, well, to suck it up. There's nothing you can do it. That's the rules. But why is it a rule? Because it's unsafe.
Safety and probably the insurance for those things. But yes, it all comes down to safety, and so does our discussion here. It comes down to the safety of the former president, and whether or not she was a quote unquote DEI hire. Now we can't stop thinking about it, so she's in the conversation, and unfortunately, that's just the way this land is going.
And then we talked about the investigation. Let's see if that's part of the investigation. If they acknowledge that that's part of the problem. I think it was. I might be wrong. Of course, I don't know all the facts, but it'll be interesting to see if that's ever revealed that DEI was part of the problem that the former president, was not protected.
Do you think that even?
That's what I'm wondering.
Because we don't know.
That's where I stand.
All right, Warriors. Catch us on the next one.
Peace.